everyone who's out there watching us today. Welcome and happy Golden Rule Day, everyone. My name is Matt Hawkins. I am the Chief Operating Officer for the Global Compassion Coalition. So, for anyone who doesn't know about us, the Global Compassion Coalition, we are a network of researchers and practitioners, coaches, activists who are all working to try and spread and embed compassionate thinking, feeling, and action wherever we can. And we work at multiple different levels. So we work at the individual level, helping inspire compassionate action. We work to create communities of compassion where people live, work, and play. And we also build networks of people bringing compassion into particular sectors, whether it be healthcare, education, politics, or business. I was really pleased, of course, to be invited by our friends and allies at the Charter for Compassion to celebrate this day with you all. Such an important day to try and bring us back and remind us of the essential value of the Golden Rule and of how we can use that to really guide us in our daily lives and also in the work, the very proactive work that we do to spread compassion. And who I have invited today to join me in this talk are three connectors who are part of the Global Compassion Coalition. So again, one more short introduction. The connectors, they are a group of individuals across the world. We now have about 2,500 across the world who have all committed to creating communities of compassion where they live. How they go about doing that is entirely up to them and led by their passion and skills and inspiration. But we, as I say, we now have 2,500, we're about 100 groups across the world, and we are starting to move towards a structure where we have national leads for the connector groups within different countries. And I have invited Pablo, Suzy, and Uwlaka, who are national leads for us as GCC connectors. So Pablo is based in Argentina, Suzy in Malawi, and Uwlaka, who we are hoping will join, I think he might be there in the background, is in Nigeria. So I'm going to just let each of them introduce themselves very briefly to you, and then we will start the conversation and discussion. So everyone, do you want to just say who you are, where you are? I've sort of partly done that, and any little bit about your background, maybe just for a minute. Pablo, would you like to go first?
Okay, thank you, Matt. Well, thank you everybody for being here and the Charter for Compassion for this invitation. I'm Pablo Mountford. I'm a physician from Argentina, and my first approach to the GCC was because we were beginning a research protocol in cancer patients, and in the future we hope to do it with the parents of children with leukemia. This is for patients with lymphomas, and from there we hope to be able to spread the teaching of compassion in an 8-week program to physicians, to doctors. And now I am more than that, but my roles are increasing, but I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you, Pablo. Yes, you've bitten off a lot more than you initially chewed. Suzy, introduce yourself to everyone.
Thank you so much, Matt, for having me here. And I'm so thankful for everyone who is watching. I think this is worth it. My name is Suzy Dzimbiri from Malawi. I'm a connector, national leader. So far, what I'm doing is I'm taking care of elderlies here in Malawi. My profession is a nurse. I'm a nurse who specialized in pediatric. Yeah.
Thank you, Suzy. And I've just seen a message from Uwlaka in Nigeria saying he is joining. I will just do the introduction for him so we can move on into the conversation. But Uwlaka has already been involved in lots of community organising and activism before he became a connector, so he was very well placed to start this work. And his group, one of the first things that they've done is start to take compassion coaching into prisons in Nigeria, and they held a brilliant Christmas celebration with prisoners there. And they've started a training program for compassion champions there. So lots of different kinds of work going on, which we're going to explore now. So my first question, which is to you both, is just about how you interpret the golden rule. And I suppose by that, I don't just mean what does it mean to you, but where do you think it comes from in your motivation? Do you feel like it's something that you just know as something morally right that you should do? Do you think that your community kind of just organizes itself that way? Is it something where you feel like personally you want to be treated in a certain way, so you do that naturally to others? I think it's just really interesting to think across different cultures where the idea comes from. So, Susie, perhaps do you want to go first? Where does it come from for you? Why is it important?
For us here in Malawi, the golden rule came from the Bible. So we just adopted from the Bible. So Malawi is a God-fearing country. So yeah, it came from the Bible. Then we kind of adopted, yeah, from the Bible.
And do you and in terms of then kind of how you learn about the golden rule through that, is it something that you're just brought up within your family? Is it in schools?
Okay, like growing up like a child, we never heard about this God thing, and we learned it in the church. Then we just learned it in the church that it's a Jesus teaching. He teaches that if we love, we need to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. So it's not in our culture, no, it's not. It's just a thing in the Bible, and the Christians applied it. If the Christian is not applying it, the people in the community will start asking, "Are you a Christian or something else?" So yeah, it's basically for the Christians. But for me, I think it is good for everyone, and I like it to tell them, my community, that the golden rule is very good. For me, it's love. The golden rule is love. It's where you can show love to somebody else. So yeah, our culture doesn't teach golden rule.
Thank you, Susie. And how about you, Pablo?
Well, perhaps we have the same background. We have a pope that is Argentinian. In Argentina, 80% of the people are Christians, 60% of them are Catholics. And you learn probably not as the sentence, the golden rule, but everything Susie said, I share. You learn about it in the way your family treat themselves and teach you how to respect others and those values. And at this moment in my personal life, it makes more sense as an elective free adult. It's more like an aspirational way of being. I really try to choose to be like that. When you have a broadened sense of awareness of not only the people, but also our home, our planet, you see things differently when you are an adult, and you perhaps commit more.
And I know that, Pablo, I think one of the things we've talked about is the sense I get from you of the closeness of your family and the community that creates for you, which is quite different perhaps to my experience here in England, in the UK. Do you find, when you think about how the golden rule kind of applies in your culture, is it primarily for people close to you? Is it primarily for your family, or is it for community, country? Is there kind of particular people it's meant to work with and that you're meant to extend it to?
In general, you may say that you learn to live in your comfort zone, that it's to live it in your family, with your friends from school, and perhaps as you grow up, your extended family, that sometimes, in my case, is 80 people, my extended family. And but then I think that when you notice that there are so many perhaps divisions, injustice, and things like that, it comes a moment that you, as I mentioned, as an adult, choose to get involved in different ways, both again, and try to help the people and try to take care of our home, like Bob Marley said.
Thank you, Pablo. And so it does, yeah, it sort of extends, and especially as you say, as you get older, you can kind of almost cognitively see how it extends beyond that initial community. For you, Susie, so you, as you said, it kind of has this religious background in the Bible, and obviously at the Global Compassion Coalition, we are both not specifically religious nor specifically not religious. We're bounded by, I suppose, this essence of the golden rule and taking compassionate action. In Zumba, in Malawi, where you are, do you see this golden rule played out by people who are not part of the Christian community? Is it and is it, does it extend from the Christian community outwards, or from your experience, is it quite strongly bound within that religious group that you are a part of?
It is strongly going to religious group, but people in the community try. Like we have Muslim organization who do charity works, and they have their motto like do unto others as you like them to do to you. So I think some they are applying it, but others they are not. So we can't say it is specifically for the Christian, but it has come from the Christian, yeah. So, like me, I applied that I should respect others so that they should respect me. I should love them so that they will love me. So, I think the golden rule it's applied personally mostly, not
Mm.
as a community.
Okay, yeah, and and that's partly the similarly for me with compassion. I think one of the powerful things is that it gives you a mindset and tools that you can that individuals can apply, so you can instantly start to live it and take action. I think that's it doesn't have to be a big theory about how we're going to change the world, although it can also apply to that. Um, I'm interested for you, Susie, like you say there, it's part of the Muslim community, it's part of your Christian community. Why do you think the Golden Rule is picked up by so many different faiths? What do you think is something about the message? Is it something about the effects it has for people? And I'll ask that to Pablo as well, but maybe Susie, you go first.
I think the golden rule has effect on it, and is a message at least, because we believe that if you love somebody, then you want them to love you, so you will not expect that somebody to come and steal from you. So I think it has a message which is giving out, and the effect is coming, but not most of the times. So if you not steal for somebody, that one will come and steal to you. So I think it has a message that it can change the community, that if I do not steal something from you, you should not steal from me. I love you, you should not, you should love me too. So I think it has a message and impact. And
Yeah.
I can see the impact is that many of us now are coming out and start taking steps and loving the vulnerable people, and yeah, it has effects.
Yeah, thank you, Susie. What about you, Pablo?
Well, I think that um, every one of us, I mean, every person in the world had experienced some kind of, what they perceive, some kind of injustice. and that feeling is not good. We don't like that. So some of us choose to try to be more loving, or more, perhaps more, to be more present or aware of our actions, and that it's part of really treat others like you like to treat yourself. I like to also introduce here something that it's one, at least, of my biggest challenge when the rule says every person. I mean that word. I'm also one of those persons, and I'm probably one of the most challenging relationship is with myself. And as Susie mentioned, having a relationship, belief system, religion. For me, Jesus is a person. So I talked with a friend, and I rest in trusting him, and all of this, all of these persons are part of who really in my case formed that rule for me.
I'm really interested in that point, Pablo, there at the end about you being a person that you want to offer the golden rule to. And I'm sure there's lots of people listening and watching who feel that same challenge sometimes, that if you feel that you're self-critical or you're low on energy and resources, your ability to extend it outwards might be depleted, or you might be really good at that, but actually you still need to learn to offer it to yourself. And is there anything that you find that is helpful in those circumstances where you just are really feeling down on yourself, but you still want to be able to offer something to the community?
First of all, is when I notice is that I'm feeling that whenever I am, I try to be, if possible, alone sometime, and stop and try to put my brakes on, and just sometimes it could be to meditate in some formal time. Sometimes I have just time for a couple of readings. Sometimes I pray. Sometimes I talk to my inner spiritual world, ask him for some help. And if I have more time, I like to go to be in touch with nature, with my dog, with my plants, if possible, rowing with my kayak. It all depends on the situation.
Great advice, Pablo. We all need a kayak for exploring nature. Moving, I suppose, now the conversation a bit towards thinking about how we make this happen in community, and then make it real. So for you, Susie, one thing this will be a bit oversimplistic, but I think one of the things I've noticed doing this role with the GCC and working with you and others, especially on the continent of Africa, has been that when you have called meetings and asked people to be involved, that energy has been there already to an extent. You've kind of, obviously you've created it as well, and you've led and guided people and inspired people, but there's a willingness. Whereas I think for us here in the UK, possibly America, Australia too, to an extent, I think sometimes you do a call out for people to be involved in something in their community, and it's just silence. It's just like not interested. That's not what we do here. Where do you have a sense where that comes from? If I'm not being overly simplistic about that, and that willingness to kind of engage in things that are happening with your neighbors, with your friends, with your community.
I think the willingness is there. Some they have the willingness to help, but here in Malawi, it's one of the poor countries, so we don't have resources. So a person can have that will, but doesn't have money maybe to help, doesn't have food to help. So I think the willingness is there, but people to come out to say that you can use me, we can go together, they just stay quiet. You just go and ask them if they can help you in such things. Yeah, but posting it on Facebook, it has been helping me a lot, and the people are coming out and they are reaching out. Like the launch I had last week, we had the people from Malawi coming, so I think that was the help of. But I think people are willing to help, but they don't have resources. So I just go and ask them if they are willing. So yeah, people came out, and those who are not willing, they refuse. Yeah.
Yeah, and I yeah, I definitely obviously feel that kind of mismatch where maybe there's some people who can offer resources in those countries I mentioned, UK, USA, but the community might not feel quite so strong. I mean, this stereotyping is not the case everywhere, of course. And so Susie, not wanting to focus too much, I suppose, on um, the opposite of the golden rule, but I know that you face challenges with uh, your support, especially for older people in your community and the prejudice and stereotype they experience. That's an example of where the golden rule is not in practice. Why do you think that is happening for them? What's led to people kind of being discriminatory in certain cases, in others just perhaps callous and ignoring them? What's driven that, do you think?
I think here in Malawi we have the different culture like yours. Here we believe in superstitious and all of those things. So here we believe people believe that if someone is older and living alone in the house and has the nails which are tall, and because they are tall because they don't have nail cutter to cut it out. So they just thought that those are the witches. They are practicing witchcraft. So they are being discriminated. Like recently we had a dry spells, so they were going to the houses of the elderly people, asking them to bring down the rain and all sorts of things, and they were harassed. So I think it's a belief which we have that we don't value the elderly. We thought that since they are poor, but we just say that they are witches. Yeah, I think
And
it's a
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think like you're identifying there, we know barriers to compassion. The sort of psychological research into that shows that there are certain conditions which certainly mean people are less likely to practice compassion, and fear and threat and resource scarcity can be one of those. And I think, you've certainly seen that played out, and you're doing amazing and brave work to try and change that that message. How about you, Pablo? Where do you see? I suppose both sides. Let's do the positive too. Where do you see the golden rule perhaps most in evident in your community in Argentina, and where do you see some of the challenges? What might push people particularly to act against it?
Well, uh, we really see solidarity in Argentina. Um, so on the bright side, people tend to be very generous with, especially now with their time. We are experiencing a very difficult financial crisis and more than 60% of the children under 14 years are under the poverty line. That was never happened before, anything like that in Argentina. And in order to correct that, the economic measures tend the people with money to withhold and retain. So, and the government cut every support to the social plans. So we are in a difficult, particularly in this moment, in a difficult situation. But in the sense of the connectors in Argentina and in South America, the people is very, very generous and very compassionate, but they had to work a lot just for a living. So sometimes they don't have time. They don't have time to get involved and help in those kind of activities. But we had a chance to unite a lot of foundations and charities in the group of connectors that are doing very creative and fantastic work in order to sustain people. We have indigenous people in Argentina that are really excluded from everything, healthcare, even documentation. For instance, one of these patrons give the women work. They produce their own art, traditional art, ancestral, with the ancestral knowledge, and they send it in Buenos Aires, in the big cities. And from 12 families sustained by women, that is we're here, it's not frequent. In Argentina, now there are 42 families sustained in Santiago del Estero, that is abandoned place. They don't have access to nor to medicine or to anything, even to the water is toxic with arsenic. So things like that, a lot of people involved, but well, that's a bright side. The dark side of the moon is that a lot of the poverty that was generated and the people that are suffering because of that were sustained politically in order to get votes, like it happens in a lot of countries. And it's very common, but well, now that the new government is somehow cleaning the house, it's a breaking point and really children don't have enough food to eat, and in urban cities, in capitals from provinces, not counting these places like Santiago del Estero or these indigenous communities. So you have very, very compassionate people, and we have the consequences of mainly of corruption, and we're paying the party.
Yeah, and just reflecting on those really real challenges in terms of them mobilizing people to kind of say, no, this is not the way we want to be living in our communities, and mobilizing support. One of the challenges, referring back to our experience here, is that there's quite a strong emphasis on individualism and on almost seeing other people competitors or threats, and I think it serves certain it can serve certain politicians, it can serve certain companies to kind of create that division amongst people rather than let them come together. Do you see that same process in Argentina, and does it have any particular different flavors to the way that it expresses itself?
I can tell you honestly that I see it in my own family and with my own friends. If in the world 1% of the population owns 45% of all the money, well, this is not the same, but some perhaps they help me to help somehow, but they are focused in making money, and I don't think if in that case probably the first step is making money, the second step is power, but in my case the people I treat are in the first stage yet. I don't know so many powerful people.
Well, and it's I mean, it's understandable, right? If in conditions where people are not given resources, that that struggle for life and for existence. So we'll come on to now thinking about both what you're doing as connectors and also then perhaps other things that you think need to change in order, whether it's in your community or elsewhere. Suzy, do you want to tell listeners a bit about kind of just, I think it would be really powerful to hear your story from where you started your work. Can't remember how many months ago it was now, but those first visits you did, why did you do them and what did you learn? And then maybe you could finish with kind of the meeting that you had this past weekend and again what the group discussed and that you think you would like to be doing as connectors in Malawi and where you're choosing to focus your energies.
Oh, so I will start to how I started. Like after meeting you in GCC, after I learned a lot from GCC, me and my friend Monica went to the community, to the village, and started visiting the elderly. So when we reached the house, we saw that their faces were so happy to see us and they were excited, and they didn't to the point where they said that, oh, you should sleep here and you go tomorrow. So it was amazing, and we met this other elder who said that she stays alone and she hasn't have any visitor for years. So I was like, what? How does that happen? Like, where are your relatives? Where are your friends? And she said that all of our friends, they kind of abandoned her, and the relatives kind of abandoned her because they accused her of practicing of witchcraft. And so I was like, okay, then I'll be coming every Friday to chat with you and to do house chores. And I was taking her to my home. We were having lunch together. And the excitement which she had, I think that was keeping me going. And I had other friends who were visiting. So we were visiting almost 20 per week, so we were dividing each one to go somewhere. So if the house has a lot of work, we could call each other that, okay, let's come this house and we do house chores and we clean the plates and everything. After that, we came back. So we started looking at where they live, how the condition of their homes. And last year we had the cyclone Freddy. So this year we had the threats of another cyclone. So I thought that it was good maybe to repair their homes. And when we went there to ask them that if we could repair their homes, Some, they said that, oh, this place is not mine, I'm just living here. There is a landlord somewhere, maybe talk to them. So when I go and talk to the landlord, they said, okay, you should not build or repair anything here, just buy the land for this man, and so on and so forth. So it was quite difficult for me. So I was planning that maybe I should have the home where I can invite those who doesn't have a home, those who lives in the house that is not habitable. Uh, they should stay in that home, which I'm planning that I should have. They should stay in that home instead of those homes, because those homes, they are at risk of collapsing anytime. And coming to the launch we had last week, it was wonderful launch. I met a lot of people around the world. It was 13 of us, teachers, dietitians, and doctors and nurses. And yeah, there were a lot of people. Others were doing preventing poverty in Malawi, preventing malnutrition in Malawi. So there were different programs which they were doing. Some they were under a certain organization, but seeing what I'm doing, they thought that they should join me so that we can work together to improve the compassion. We should not just pity the thing that, okay, our country is poor, then just pity, but we should act on it. So I think GCC is there to equip us with compassion and trainings. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Susie. And I think one of the things I've often repeated about your story as well is just that power of the example that you set when you went and did those initial visits, because especially in a context where, like you've described, people are often pushed out of the community, you extending your hand and going and visiting just set such a powerful example that I know has inspired others. Speaking of inspiration, you also mentioned there about keeping yourself going. Do you have any advice on how people who are quite active in their community, how you in particular manage to kind of keep the inspiration going, to keep visiting each week, and obviously building the work that you're doing as well? It's not just sustaining it, you're actually building it with others.
Yeah, I think seeing the elderly people starting smiling and being open to you, that is a big encouragement for us. I mean, those elderlies, when we find them, they were to see them, you can just say, oh my goodness. So, but seeing them the way they're improving. Some they had the medical conditions, some their nails were that tall. So after visiting them, chatting with them, and taking care of them, now they are really good. You can point, that is my grandma, that is my grandfather. So yeah, that is a big inspiration for us, that we are working with people and they love us. When we went there, they gave us advices. They tell us the stories of the past, how they born and what happened inside the year. So that is the inspiration for us, and I think that makes us going, because we know that one day ourselves will be older, we will be elder, so we will need others to treat us the way we are treating them. So I think that is another inspiration, because I don't want to see somebody disrespecting me when I am older. So I think that is another inspiration. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Susie. And I think that point there about, you've got a vision of kind of more compassionate communities that treat older people much, well, not just better, but as equals, and extend love back and forth, and a practical way of doing it through the um, setting up this home. But crucially, you've kind of got these things that keep you going, these small goals and wins. Well, then, I mean, actually, I think they're not small, they're really quite seismic, but they're things that you can do today, next week, that really keep you knowing that you're making progress. And that is so important to anyone who's out there looking to try and get involved in building compassionate communities. Um, Pablo, for you, I know you came at this, obviously, as you described in your introduction, through the medical route that you were already doing, and have now got this big project with which you may not have intended, with compassion connectors across South America. Where do you think the focus needs to be for you in terms of, if we were to look at building communities organized around the golden rule, organized around compassion, what are the kind of key things that you think are going to need to shift, either in Argentina or from what you've learned from the connectors across South America?
I really learned from the connectors from Africa, like Suzy, Uwlaka, and Peter, and really, and of course, from you. And I like to remark that even you maybe train and practice some formal practices of compassion, some specific sentences really guided me in this way of being a connector. I didn't understand what it could mean. There cultural meanings different also. Connectors in our region is like a plug. So I was trying to share to them that we were more like my bridges. But the thing is, the importance to be seen, to be heard, to be valued, and you always remarking us and saying again and again and again, what you do is fantastic, what you do is worthwhile. And that reinforcement at the end makes you believe it. And perhaps you go for another carrot. That's what happened to me. What really I really discovered that some word that in my compassionate dictionary is now new with intensity is the need for inclusivity and accessibility. So that was the reason, and is the reason that we did translate the connector training programs into Spanish and are translated into French, mostly thinking, in my case, in Africa and Haiti. So my dream is to help that people, but the connectors gave me the chance to broaden my heart and my view of the reality, just the reality, because now I chat, I talk, I know about and try to help Suzy with ideas or with her project. And another thing is that it's important that you can help other people, and you should respect that they are the experts in their own lives and their own culture and projects. So you can go and offer things, but that kind of not imposing things and listening with compassionate ear, with openness, and trying to understand and trying to be of help, not being yourself the boss or whatever. The things are helping me as a person, but probably to do my job better.
Yeah, thank you, Pablo. And I think that last point, it obviously is certainly an approach that we've tried as much as possible to take in building the Connectors program. But I think that also is a message that we try and, not just in the way that the GCC has approached it, but the message we give, as you say, to connectors, which is that you are experts in your own areas or issues or with the skills that you have, and not to let the fear of kind of I don't know the best way to put it. I mean, here we call it bureaucracy sometimes, oh, you've got to be this official organizer, you've got to jump through all these layers. And actually what you're trying to do is just create human connection, create human contact, and help people, like you say, Pablo, be seen, heard, and valued. And that's something we can all do in different ways. And whether we want to start organizing groups, as you two have both done, or just be part of them, it all makes a difference and all has an impact. We're coming to the last sort of part of the conversation, and I wanted to move on to perhaps messages for people who are out there who are interested in thinking either, well, let's start with individually on the golden rule and then move to kind of what they could do to take action. What do you do, Suzy, on a kind of day-by-day basis, just in your interactions? Don't worry, not thinking so much about organizing as a connector, but what's some advice you would give to anyone who's thinking, I really want to try and implement the golden rule much more in the way that I interact with friends or family? Is there anything you would say? And then Pablo, I'll ask you the same question.
Yeah, I think personally, day-to-day thing, it's like I will respect. When I speak to somebody, I will speak with respect. And if they are mean, I think I have that rule, my respect will demote their meaningness. So I speak with respect, and I try to speak with love and compassion and show that I care, and they can tell me everything they want to tell me. And if there's something it is private with them, they are not forced to speak. So I give that uh, environment that everyone can talk and speak and cry and ask. Yeah, so that they should be free and open with me. In that case, I know that me too, I can be open, so that we should have that trust for each other. Yeah.
I definitely think that's both a wonderful message and so true in the way that you do approach relationships, Suzy. It absolutely is. And I think is really, again, is kind of recognizing that power that everyone has to create those kind of environments where people feel warm and safe and understood. It's actually something that we can all bring to our interactions, and it's a wonderful gift. Pablo.
Well, in my case, for some reason, I'm not the only doctor that experiences the same. When I am on the clinic with one patient, I experience the best version of myself, and I experience this naturally. And perhaps when I'm driving, it's different. And when I'm coming home, I have to self-regulate and ask my dog for advice. How do you do? But I would say that for several years, now I'm getting better, that's good. But I really tried day by day to be the same person that I was in the clinic, at home, and in my car, but being aware. Even I had to learn, and I'm still learning. But perhaps you may find some places, some moments that you are more like your best version of yourself, and try to learn from that and try to conquer. We live 96 quarters of hour each day. Try to conquer more quarters of hour for that presence, and you will treat everyone the way you would like to treat more often, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's such a great insight, Pablo, that I think people can feel like they can be multiple people. And it's interesting what means that they are that person in one instant and not in another. And I know that it's tricky, isn't it? Because there's both it can work in both ways. I think people can go to work here and be potentially quite nasty and then go home and be really loving to their family. And it's interesting that they can't bring that version of themselves. But I think you're absolutely right. Whatever it is, whatever you're learning from that insight, try and bring it into a different space. And it's sometimes what you value, isn't it? It's just sometimes about what you value most and making sure that that extends to as many different circumstances as possible. And I suppose next, thinking about people who might want to start taking more action in their community and getting involved in organizing. If there's people out there itching to get started in creating communities based around the golden rule, would you have any advice for them? Let's go to you, Pablo, because I made Suzy answer the last question first, if you get me. What tips would you give to anyone eager to get started?
Well, I think that I really think that should start. I don't like to use it should, but uh, just try to be present for yourself. Have the courage to know yourself better each day, and from there, just from there, just ignite the engine. That would be my advice. First of all, try because if you're present, you would be able to self-regulate, to notice, to understand, and to help. But sometimes we really don't spend a lot of time with ourselves, trying to know how we think, how we react, and how distracted, how unconsciously we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so with that, Pablo, and as you know, because you've been through having to translate the training, that's one of the things we really emphasize at the start is just look into what your passion is and identify your why. Action, don't worry about feeling like you've got to compare yourself to what others are already doing or thinking, oh God, imagine I've got to try and solve world peace. Just think about what your passion is and your skills and take it from there. Suzy, what would you add?
I think I'll add on motivation and intention. I think if you want to organize something, you need to meditate on your intention and motivation. What is your motive? What is your intention? What do you want to achieve? Uh, don't just start because Pablo or Susie is doing, but reflect on it and you can have a good start and have people whom you can talk to. If you are at that point, you feel like, okay, I'm done, or I think my idea is not going to work. I think have people whom you trust, whom you can talk to, and whom they can listen to you. I think that is a good start, because if you have people that doesn't listen, or those who are always against, I think you cannot achieve. So I think have a good motive, have good intentions, and know your goal. And I think one day you can be confident, and also confident is good. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Susie. Definitely, that's the other thing. I think definitely having someone that you can turn to, talk to, even if they're not directly involved um, in the project itself, just being able to speak to them and accountability partner, if you like, but a supportive one. Okay, final couple of minutes we've got, and it's going to be a game of a hypothetical situation. So imagine at some point in the future, there's a world government. Let's ignore the potential pitfalls with that. And you have both been put in charge of your ministers for the Golden Rule, your ministers for creating the Golden Rule across the world. What's one policy that you would enact to try and make that a reality? Give you a couple of seconds each to think about it. And I'm going to then pick Suzy. Would you like to go first? What's something you would like to see changed?
Oh, that is an interesting question. Oh, I think the policy that can put the golden rule in practice. It's the golden rule itself, the sentence itself, but I think I will need the strategy or guideline to implement it. So I think will establish like a guideline to practice it. Like it should be practiced in everywhere, like everywhere, not only religious people, not only Christians or Muslims or Hindus, but everywhere. And I think it should start with the at birth, like we should be taking care of the children very good, like the way we wanted them to do when they to us when they grow up, and that is the healthy section, and also uh, uh, the government. I would say that they should not um, they should not uh, yeah, corrupt. They should not corrupt. Yeah. Yeah. That was a big question.
Yeah, sorry, Susan, you had about 3 seconds to think. So I think you gave a brilliant answer. Thank you. Education, especially, really important as well from an early year. Pablo.
Well, I think that um, one of the reasons that we are doing a hard work doing research about compassion and spirituality is because we believe that we really need legislations that promote goodness somehow. Humanity have naturalized selfishness, and in the way that the politics are structured. And I don't know how I would redact it and write it down, but as we were children, we need to relearn to share, to share and to value and promote goodness in different ways. Department of different areas of applied goodness. I don't mean that it's a planified evil word, but really there are roots in our culture. Things are more rooted in values that I really don't know how you can legislate that. Probably because I think we learn more from experience than from textbooks and things like that. You have to begin with children, of course, but I don't know how we're gonna do it. But we don't have so many time to turn a shift and begin to share more, really.
I think what you've both taken us through today is that you don't need to be a minister for the Golden Rule to start making that difference. That's the important thing, I think. in that hypothetical game. It's not needed because you are already doing it and making it happen. So thank you. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and the skills and the experience that you've got with everyone today. I hope that, yeah, I just sort of hope that as well, people out there have kind of maybe learned something, but also got that inspiration to go and take action. If you want to be join the connectors, Pablo and Suzy and others, you can do that on the GCC website. But I also know there's lots of opportunities to be involved with the Charter as well, and many organisations that are like-minded and with us in spirit. So thank you all so much, and we will see you again soon, and have a very good rest of your Golden Rule Day.
Thank
See
you.
you all.